Welcome back to another IndiePower TV new music feature. I Just Need to Get Away is the song. Eric Dash is our songwriting artist, producer, guest. Take it away, Eric.
Hey guys, how are you? My name's Eric, and yeah, I Just Need to Get Away is the new song, and it just came out on September 11th, which is a dark day, and didn't mean to just do that, but it just happenstance.
You had to put it out on 9/11, did you?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, tell the truth, I tried to get it out on August 7th, and then I was trying to get a revised version done. I'm going to turn this so you don't have the light in your face, but I was trying to get a revised.
A lot of famous records came out on that very 9/11, like Jay-Z, Blueprint. There's a number of other records that came out.
I didn't know that. I didn't really look to see what records came out on that date. I was just kind of like, I was a little bit anxious about just releasing anything on 9/11.
Because it was a Tuesday, and that was new music release date back then.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
wow.
Now it's Friday or any day you want, but back then every Tuesday, which meant Monday at midnight, Tower Records had people lined up. At midnight, they could start selling it.
Did they make it start doing Friday with like New Music Friday? Is that what changed to Friday?
No, I think that came as, after it. But I just think, the record labels or the industry just said, hey, Friday, payday, end of the week, the weekend, let's make that the new music week. I'm not sure why Tuesday ever was, but, there was a lot of famous records that came out on that day. Do you remember where you were when the Twin Towers were struck?
I absolutely do. I was in gym class when I was like in like 7th or 6th grade or something, and in middle school. And I remember like getting this over the loudspeaker, them telling us, and everybody we didn't really understand. I didn't really understand what was occurring. And then everybody went home from school early that day. And I remember watching it on the news and having it on loop with my parents. And still, as I watched the Twin Towers get hit, I remember not being able to comprehend what is occurring until it starts like showing the bodies dropping. I remember that. That was like scarring me. I remember that's the moment that I really understood the gravity of what was occurring. It takes a moment for a child. It's like they don't get it.
Yeah, I was a little older than that, but I had friends on the East Coast that called me, woke me up, said, turn on the TV, Twin Towers have been struck. And seconds after I turned on the TV, the second plane hit the second tower. I watched that live.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, I remember watching the planes hit. I don't know if I saw it live, but that would have been a little bit of a, what's the word? Yeah, exactly. My brain. See, I said that. I told you I haven't had my coffee. I'm slow.
Well, just like the character in your song, I Just Need to Get Away. He hadn't had his bong toke in the morning. He rolls out of bed, hits the bong. Tell us about the concept behind, I Just Want to Get Away in the video.
Well, it's actually pretty accurate. Not in like a way that I had a bong next to my bed. I definitely, I hid my bowl. My parents were doing their thing. My mother used to walk in my bedroom to wake me up with a super soaker. And that's the beginning. My mother used to bring in a little squirt gun and shoot me and scream at me to get up for school. And it was, I kind of wanted to do a video that was, something like talking about, I wanted to be a child in it. I wanted to because I feel like as an artist growing up and still making music as an artist, even though I'm doing the producer thing, still making music as an artist, it's really hard sometimes to continue. And I have to tap into an inner child. So I thought it would be nice to have someone else play me and, do things that I would do back when I was 16 years old. And it's the kind of the music that I was listening to back then. So I wanted to have like a setting like it was from 90s, 2000s kind of deal. And I also thought that, I thought it would be cool to have like just be cameos. I actually contacted Art Alexakis, from the lead singer from Everclear, and I wanted him to be the mailman in the video. And I was talking about that. I didn't know he had MS, which is horrible, but so that's why I didn't do it, because of COVID times. But it's very Everclear times, and I wanted to have a video that like was that felt like that older thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you harken back to not only Everclear, but Fountains of Wayne and Weezer, Nirvana,
Oh
Jimmy
yeah.
Eat World, your love for those 90s bands.
Did.
Were you living in LA at the time, or where were you?
I was in Jersey. I was in South Jersey. I was like going to little emo concerts, and I was going to I was doing that's what I was doing at the time. I was like seeing Something Corporate and Yellow Card Live and Blink-182, and I loved Weezer and Fountains of Wayne, and yeah, and all of that, Nirvana and everything. When I was younger, I was very into that. So it was like cool to like for this song and for a bunch of songs, I'm just going back into rock, because I don't really, the pop thing doesn't do it for me. I know that pop is everything for everybody now, pop and hip hop. I do it for other people, but like for myself, it's not like what I'm trying to do. So, yeah, I definitely got my roots in that. That's definitely where I came from, for sure.
Well, a lot of people say at the foundation of any great song, whether it's grunge or metal or hip hop or anything, is really a pop melody. Smells Like Teen Spirit. If you take out the distorted guitars and the bombastic drums, there's really a song under there somewhere. So let's call pop a la Beatles. Infectious melody that gets in your brain. You can always add layers of guitars and drums and keyboards and backing vocals, but that's what we love, those infectious ear candy pieces that kind of as soon as you hear it, you say, I want to hear that again.
Yeah, I love pop. I like instrumental pop, they of that time. Today pop is just a different thing. It's just infectious. You're right, 100%. Pop is infectious melodies, and pop is I'm thinking more along the lines of like it's very much the top line thing today. Whereas like the difference between the melodies that I really like is like when I sing with a guitar and I play and I sing, you can only do so many things, because it's like really, it's not like you can do all of these pop vocal runs while you're playing like different guitar lines as well. You kind of mimic, or you kind of sing to your playing. And that's how pop songs used to be written. So it's like, Kurt Cobain used to like write his songs and sing to them while he played. But, these days it would be, it's still pop infectious melody, but it's kind of like you have someone playing a loop and then someone that's not playing singing to the loop of sorts. So then they have the freedom to do whatever they want over it, instead of being like slave to what they're playing and having to sing. You know what I mean? It's a different thing when you sing and play at the same time. It just comes out different.
Yeah,
so that's
I'm not a big fan either of the manufactured, like 21 Writers, and
yeah.
It's like, I think the computer is writing the song at that point.
Yeah, it's cool. It's just like, I actually love a lot of it. I think there's place for all of it, and that's what I like. I think there's space for rock and for pop and for whatever it is. If someone likes it and they're down with it, that's cool with me. And I have a very eclectic taste. I just love music. I'm like so into country right now. I want to make an entire country record. I'm like loving country music. I never thought I'd feel that way. So it's, it can go every which way.
Now, is that new country or you traditional?
Well, I used to actually love, old school country, like the Johnny Cash stuff. And I love, Dolly Parton and music like that. But I do love new country. My favorite records over the past couple of years from like the country realm though haven't been like honky tonk country. It's been more like Brandy Carlisle. I cannot get enough of her. The Casey Musgraves Golden Hour. Everybody went bananas over that record, including myself. I have both on vinyl, and I listen to them regularly. But I actually had a session with a country artist the other day. I'm doing a country song for a great artist named Freddie. And she showed me a new artist named Hardy. And he used to write for like Florida Georgia Line, and now he has his own record out. And man, that thing is just epic, the entire record. So I've been listening to Hardy on repeat for the past 3 days and like showing everybody his songs. I'm such a fan.
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of people say, country is the new rock or the new pop. It's really, it's there's a lot more rock in country these days than a lot of the, rock bands. It seems like it's harder than ever for a rock band to really make it. There's no MTV, there's no rock radio that's aggressively playing new music.
Yeah, it's miserable. I'm telling you. I have so many friends in rock, and it's just like I wouldn't say it's dead because so many people love rock and still make rock. But like in terms of like, I have my thoughts as to why, and we don't need to go into that. But I think that rock is definitely not given a stage anymore. But country music, they have those states are not giving up on their country music no matter what. It doesn't matter where the world goes, they're keeping their country music. So it's like it's an evergreen genre, and it's like they're still killing it over there. And that's why I'm also like, I get to make like my guitar music and have real instrumentation and be in a studio and still write great songs. If I have to sing with a little bit of twang, bring it on.
Yeah. Speaking of guitars, tell us about that piece of art behind you. That's pretty amazing.
Oh,
that guitar is three-dimensional.
Yeah.
Layered.
Actually, I don't know where it's from. I think my mom got it for me as a gift when I moved to LA. She was trying to like she wanted me to move back. She wants me to move back to Jersey.
Is that one piece over another, or is that like three pieces?
I think it's just like it's three pieces that are connected. It's one piece, but it's just like the way that the artist did it was like a very much three-dimensional kind of stacking, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we're forever loving the guitars, and of course we just recently lost Eddie Van Halen, who really crossed over all musical genres. Like his song Right Now, had some of that country elements, how Sammy Hagar sang it. And, of course they played it Live Aid or Farm Aid and all that stuff. What do you miss most or recognize in the talent of somebody like Eddie Van Halen?
I mean, the thing with Eddie Van Halen was like, he didn't try to be anybody else. He was so good that, I mean, he developed his own style of playing that he was like, he was a trailblazer. The way that he turned like shredding stuff into pop of sorts, with his band, with his 80s stuff. And, like, I don't know, Eddie Van Halen had his own sound. He created an entire style of music, in my opinion. And I don't really know. I've always listened to a little bit of Van Halen, like, all the Panama stuff and the record with I forget the name of the record, but it has the baby on it. but I
talking
mean,
about the two-headed baby, the two babies.
I think it's just the baby with the slicked hair,
Oh yeah, 1984. Yeah, the pack of cigarettes there.
Yeah.
Of course, that's the one with Jump and Panama and Hot for Teacher and Wait.
I've listened to that record many times. Yeah, it's fantastic. I just think that he had a sound. I think that when you have a sound as a guitarist, it takes a lot of time to make a sound as a guitarist, because you can go and mimic Clapton, or you can mimic Hendrix, or you can mimic Steve Vai, or you really can't mimic Steve Vai, but you can try, you know, and to make your own sound with your own fingers and have your own thing, that's a legendary thing. You know, Van Halen was another thing. That was another level.
And they were right here from Pasadena. Grew up in a small little house in a quiet community. I mean, it could have been anywhere America. You know what I mean? It wasn't New York City. It wasn't even Hollywood. It was really a small town. Of course, his family had moved here from the Netherlands. You know, and it's an amazing success story to see this guy who didn't read music in his little back room, just playing thousands of hours, coming up with this style which took over the world.
Yeah, I didn't know he was from the Netherlands, and I didn't know he grew up in Pasadena. Do you know when he moved here from the Netherlands? Are you aware of that?
Yeah, he was 7 years old. Okay. So he pretty much went to elementary, junior high, and Pasadena High School.
Gotcha. I feel like people from the Netherlands have like really, really good work ethic in terms of like guitar play. Like when you ever see like, I don't know, I feel like if it's a guitarist from the Netherlands, they're going to have impeccable dexterity. And and I feel like that makes sense that Van Halen's from the Netherlands. He's like, has this very, you know, he's very impeccable, very, very precise.
Well, he didn't even speak English when he moved here. So the music was the universal language. He'd hear these records on the radio and just started mimicking, and then created his own style, you know, from there. And, you know, from that same community, he met David Lee Roth and Michael Anthony. Of course, Alex was his older brother, like 2 years older. But, you know, it's that American dream of, you know, a non-manufactured band that's just, you know, playing little dive bars, you know, and next thing you know, they're rocking stadiums all over the world.
Yeah, well, that was a different time, wasn't it? That's fucking crazy. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't be cursing on here.
No, you could say whatever you want. We're uncensored.
Oh, great, that's fantastic.
Yeah, let it rip.
Yeah, awesome.
but yeah, it's I know every band that came after that coming out of LA, from Motley Crue to Poison to Rat to Warrant, they were all really Van Halen wannabes. You know, the shadow was large.
Yeah, well, he was that guitar hero. He was, you know, when you hear Motley Crue, you hear a band name. When you hear Van Halen, it's Van Halen. You're talking about Eddie Van Halen. You know, it's that's a difference. You know, when you hear Derek and the Dominoes, you know it's Eric Clapton. You know, it's a different thing. You know.
Yeah, well, tell us about the making of the video, because that was an awesome sound stage that it would cut to you playing the song live, you know, intercut with the scenes of your younger self.
Yeah. So, well, first off, I didn't want to, you know, I look at today as a very, it's a very young oriented market. You know, if I was 14 or 15 years old, people would go bananas over, and, you know, I've done records for some younger artists, and people just, you tell them their age and they'll go, what? Oh my God. You know what I mean? It's a thing. So I thought to myself, like, I don't even want to come into the video until later. And if I'm going to come into it, I want to be on I want to be like, I'll do cameos, but if I'm going to be in it for real, I definitely want to have a band, and I want to do it in a way that like makes me feel like, you know, this is more authentic to me. And the sound stage was this place called Tuxedo LA. It's actually, we were looking at this place. They have 2 buildings, and we were looking at the room that they shot Batman in. They shot Batman with Christian Bale. It's like the scene with the Batmobile and Morgan Freeman, where he's like showing him, it's this full white room with the white ceiling. And that's where they shot that. And like The Weeknd did a photo shoot in there, and we were looking at that room, but they couldn't have live drums in that room because of the glass ceiling and like sticks being shot up and breaking the ceiling. So that we checked out the other location, and that's where we were for that location. And it was in downtown, just a big warehouse looking space. It was awesome. And yeah, my director was amazing. The help that he had on the record, I mean, on the video shoot was amazing. Like we saw like the Foo Fighters record for the Pretender, because I love the Foo Fighters, and we were like checking out that as like a cool way to look at, you know, how to aesthetically make this look good. And we were like looking at the ground, and the director was like, let's put water on the ground so that way like there's a cool reflection. You know what I mean? We smoked up the area. We really made it into like a cool space.
Well, it definitely shows, you know, it's an amazing video. The link is right below this interview. You got to check it out. And I know the record was mixed by Adam Hawkins, who of course has worked with 21 Pilots and Alanis Morissette. How did you decide on Adam for the mix?
Well, I was looking for a mixer for a while, actually. And it's hard to find mixers if you don't know what you're looking for. Adam also recently did MGK, and he's done Grandson. And, you know, there's one other mixer that is in that world that I feel like is really, 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 you know, really big in that world. His name is Neil Avron. And I also spoke to Neil Avron's manager, and I was just trying to find the right fit for me. And either would have been fantastic. But Adam, you know, the manager got back and they listened to the music, and they seemed really gung-ho about it. And whenever anyone's like, you know, really down to do it, I feel like, okay, that's, you know, God steering me in a direction. And, you know, I've worked with a bunch of other mixers that are fantastic in the past, but I wanted someone that really understood rock music, because I was going to people that were doing a lot of pop, and rock is a different thing. You know, I want someone that's on the charts with rock. And Adam is not only fantastic with pop and everything, but he really does have a sound with rock music. And I was a little nervous actually when I was working with him, because the first time, because I've had so many mixes done by other people trying to figure out who to use. And while everybody's been stellar, it hasn't been right for me, which is a hard thing because I'm just so particular. So, but when I got the mix in from Adam, I was very much scared to even listen to it. My heart was pounding. I went to my car and I didn't even want to press play for I Just Need to Get Away. And when I heard it back, I think it was one of the happier moments in my life. I might have teared up, because it sounded just like I imagined it could sound. And I spoke to him about it also, and I was wondering how he got it to sound like that, because usually mixers in general will take their own sound and put it on you of sorts. You know, they use their own template. I don't know if you know about engineering or what it is, but everybody has their own template that they go into, and they kind of want to make their own sound because they're the artist too. You know, they have a sound that they want to portray. And when I spoke to, and it still sounded a lot like me in a way that I have not heard before. And I said to Adam, like, what were you doing? And he's like, he went through my routing and how I put together the track, because I did it in a different kind of way, because I wasn't taught to do this. And he was like, he made sure that it was going through the right way that I was doing it and made it work that way. And as soon as he said that, I was kind of sold. I want to work with him on so many records. He's just so busy. You know, I have 2 other records I did with him. The next record is coming out on November 13th, and he mixed it, and it's so good. I'm so pumped. You start hearing the country stuff that I'm going into. It's a little bit of more country Western vibes going on. And he mixed another record that I did full band, super singer songwriter, like John Mayer Coldplay kind of esque stuff at Sunset Sound down the street, if you know Sunset. But like Adam's so good. It's hard to nail him down. I'll use him for everything.
Yeah, well, he's got the sound, like you say. A lot of guys they're known for a sound, and you know they're known to get on the radio or whatever, and it's as much them as the artist. Speaking of Sunset Sound, that is where Eddie Van Halen and Van Halen recorded the classic debut album, the Van Halen 2, Van Halen 3, which was Women and Children First, and the 4th album, you know, Fair Warning. So until Eddie built 5150 up in his Adobe up in, Mulholland.
Yeah.
Every Van Halen record was cut at Sunset Sound.
Well, I love Sunset Sound. I actually, I had never been there. I used to work with Jack Joseph Puig as an artist. He was the producer, and he had a room at Ocean Way that he loved, and we would go to Ocean Way. It's called United now. I think it just goes back and forth between Ocean Way and United, but I always was there, and when I became a producer, which is like only a few years ago, I started to produce. I had never touched Pro Tools before. I didn't even know what the hell I was doing. And I thought to myself, I need to explore because I don't know what these rooms sound like. I know what Ocean Way sounds like, but I don't know anything else about anything else. And I tried East West, and I love East West. But then I had to try Sunset Sound. And as soon as I tried Sunset Sound, I was kind of, there's a magic about Sunset that's different than anything else. And you can hear it. I was in Studio 2. I'm assuming Eddie was in Studio 2, but I know Studio 3, I started working in Studio 3 because I became really close with one of the engineers there, and he's the best. And I love hanging out with him. So I've worked with a lot with him in Sunset, and Studio 3 is Prince's room. So, there's just like, that studio in general, just all of the rooms there just have had so many famous records in and out, so you really can't go wrong. And it's a special studio.
Well, yeah, of course they have some kind of tunnel or some kind of way they send the drums. Van Halen had that monster drum sound because there's some kind of echo chamber or something they have.
They do have a chamber. They do have a chamber for like drums. They have a verb chamber. They have a plate. They have like a real reverb. It's not like it's not software reverbs. They have real reverbs on site. They have a plate and a chamber. So like when you're running your drums, they will send a signal to the chamber and like saturate it a certain amount. And it depends on who the engineer is or who the producer is. If it's me and I'm in there, like I will want to like control that dial and find that magic spot for that song and be like, sometimes you want to like pump the shit out of it. And sometimes you want to, keep it a little bit more tame. So it's like, it's about the drum part, but you just have a little bit of that essence. It depends on what the song is. I feel like for that 80s stuff, you want to pump the shit out of it though, because it's like you want that big boom.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first Van Halen album just blew everybody's heads off. It sounded like they were playing an arena already, and it was a monster sound. Well, talk a little bit about, working with Jack Joseph Puig, because I know we know him for his work with John Mayer and Black Crowes and Weezer and all that, but how did he discover you, and what is it that you learned the most from him?
Well, first off, I kind of approached Jack. I remember being at a college. I was working a few jobs in New York. My parents were helping me out. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. All I wanted to do was write songs. And I was really upset because I did a record we spent some money with this guy, and it didn't turn out not even close to what it should have turned out. It was just horrible. And, as a kid from Jersey, I actually showed people my records when I was 15 years old. They were like, we would have signed you if we saw this kid 15 years old. You know what I mean? But we didn't know anybody. I didn't have any in with the industry, and I didn't even know what mixing was. We had just raw records. I had my vocals all down the center. They're all chorusing. Like we didn't have any direction. And we knew that, and we've been through that route. And my parents didn't want to help me anymore as an artist. And it's a lot of these artists out here, like their parents help them or they figure something out. But I was lucky enough to have that. And my father said to me in front of my mother and in front of my brother that, they were going to cut it off and you have to figure out something else for your life unless you find a Grammy award-winning producer that wants to take you under her wing We do not support this whatsoever, like at all, you know? And I immediately thought to myself, I'm going to contact Jack Joseph Puig, because I knew who he was. I watched him. Like, I've seen his name on records. Like, I've watched since No Doubt times, and I always saw his name. I saw his name on the John Mayer Heavier Things record. And I didn't realize that he actually did produce, you know, most everything on the Room for Squares record. It just was a different, his name isn't on it because of a different reason, but he produced most of that too. And I reached out to him and I sent him a video of me playing a song called 1+1. And a lot of those songs never came out, and I'm reproducing them right now myself. And I'm using a lot of the production that I did with Jack, and he's unbelievable. But I reached out to him. I sent him a video. I told him I know where he is, and that my name is Eric, and that I think he's amazing. And I really want to work with him. And here's a song of mine. And I played the song. It's called 1+1. And I sent it to the office, like the info email or whatever it was at Ocean Way Studio, the contact email. And I said, I know that Jack Joseph Puig has worked here in the past. I see it in his Wikipedia. If you could just forward this to the correct party, because I love Jack and I would dream to work with him one day. If just forward it to him, like, I just pray, you know. A week later, I got a call from Jack. I let it go to voicemail because it was a California number, and I thought it was Time Warner trying to make me pay my bill, and I didn't want to pay it. And I got a voicemail from him saying, "Hey, Eric, it's Jack Joseph Puig. Give me a call." And then I was out in LA a week later or 2 weeks later with Jack and Tim Pierce and Tony Royster Jr. and Brian, and who else was there in that room? Jamie Hobrak. And, you know, Jamie and Tim both. Jamie still plays with John Mayer, but he played with all that stuff. And, you know, it was surreal. It was a crazy turnaround how that happened. He loved the song and he was down. He was like, let's fucking do it. And I spoke to my dad because I was like, I didn't know how to handle it. I was like, so, oh my God, it's Jack Joseph Puig. Can you talk to my dad? I was like, I couldn't even handle speaking to him. I was so excited. And I ended up working with him for like 5 years. He ended up being like very much like a music dad to me. And I still talk to Jack here and there. And he taught me a lot. I cannot even put into words the amount of, I didn't know what he was teaching me at the time. I think the best thing that he taught me is, I think, a level to strive for. A lot of the, you know, I really do a lot of this alone. And it's really difficult, especially when you don't know what the hell you're doing. And I've never done it before. A lot of people that I'm trying to compete with, and I say compete because to me, it is a competition. I'm trying to get heard. And I want to do it. I'm having fun, but like at the same time, it's hard. It's really hard. And a lot of the people that I am, you know, in the same realm with have been doing this for 10 years, you know, and you know, there's these articles coming out preparing me to some artists that have producers that have been in like the prescription Dr. Luke camp. Like it's like a, you know what I mean? They've been around for a long time. They had teachers that have massive hits. And, you know, the only thing that Jack, he was a producer. I was the artist. He didn't teach me. I learned production by watching him and how he did it. But producing happens in a different way these days. So that was the learning curve, like doing it digitally and like mixing myself. And I'm mixing records for other people now too. You know, so it really, the thing that really taught me was a level of expertise, because I know that I haven't gotten to where I want to get to yet, because I'm not on that level of that. Like, I don't know how to make a record always sound like this insane level. And I think a lot of other producers that are in the indie world are really happy with themselves when they reach a certain thing. It's like, oh, this sounds great. And because I got to watch Jack for so many years, a lot of great to some other people sounds like shit to me. I'm just like, that doesn't sound great. It sounds like crap. Do you know what other people are doing? Do you know what other people are capable of? That sounds like shit. You got to make it sound better. Otherwise, you're screwed. And that's the way I look at things. And because I'm like that, and I'm like, I am always going to be like, not sure about it, or like, no, I'm always going to be sure whether I'm like, if it's not there, I'm going to knock it down. Like, I'm not happy with it. I will continue working on it. I don't care if the record takes 3 years. I'm just like, if it's not there, it's not there. And I will keep on smacking at it. And I think that would not be the case if I did not work with Jack and see that level of where it should be for those massive records. But then again, today, there are records that sound like trash that make it on top 40. And that I really that's been the hardest thing to wrap my head around, the degradation. And like there's this neuroses that I have because of watching Jack. And I think it's a fantastic thing, because I'm still like, if you hear me do a mix or a production today, I'll do one in a month that probably is 10 times better. And then it keeps on happening because I work at it so much. But I feel like most people don't have that, and I'm grateful to have it, but it's also completely an affliction. If you understand what I mean by that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And speaking of that block of Ocean Way right there along Sunset Gower Studios, I had offices upstairs on the second floor of East West for years. So I'm running a promotion company, but I'm seeing through the door Elton John and Red Hot Chili Peppers and REM, and every day it was Nile Rodgers. It was just amazing, that whole block, right there. And of course, Ocean Way, the same, right there next door to each other.
I just realized my coffee mug. You see it?
Yeah, we love that. What a logo, man. It reminds you of like some 70s show or movie. Or
I know, it does. It reminds me of the 70s show. Like, what a ridiculous logo.
No, I mean, that's what's so amazing about Hollywood. You first get here and you expect like big signs, studio, and all this. And Sunset Sound does have their little logo up on the wall, but most of the studios have no signage. Ocean Way may have a name out front and an address, but you have no idea what you're passing by, the amount of history of hit records and iconic, hits that came out of these buildings.
Ocean Way, though, that it upsets me, because when I first got to Ocean Way, like I was 23, I think I was 23, and I walked in. There were so many like, first off, it said Ocean Way over the top of the doors. It's definitely inconspicuous. It's not like a very, like, look at me kind of thing. It's more like you see the Gower Studios sign, as you were saying. Like, everyone sees the Gower Studios sign as you're on Sunset. And I went in, and there are so many plaques on the wall of my favorite records, whether it was the Chili Peppers, as you said, or you see John Mayer on the wall, or you see Michael Jackson or Clapton on the wall. Like, I saw Clapton, I saw him there. I've seen Beck there. I've seen so many massive artists walking around in that studio. And like, there's those plaques on the wall, and the feeling of that was iconic. When they changed it to United, it was like a real estate company that bought it. They took all the plaques down. It's bare walls. It's just like some pictures of Frank Sinatra. I was like, oh, why would you do that? It was very upsetting to me. But
yeah, no, that's that. When you walk in and you see the walls lined with hit plaques, you just know there's a magic here. There's something in the water in this building.
Yeah. Well, they had real architects. That's what they had. These architects back then that really knew sound and built these unbelievable studios. I know that some studios, they were like trying to refurbish a bit. And I don't need to name what the studios were, but they tried to refurbish some studios a bit. And like, they had these unbelievable rooms. And the guys that refurbished them and made them apparently better. It's just they lost the magic. There was something about the guys back then that built those studios that really understood what they were doing. And that studio, they haven't changed it. It's still this unbelievable. You walk in that room, man. I've had the chills every time I walk into that room. Oh my God, unbelievable.
Well, it's like that Sound City documentary that Dave Grohl made. You know, they used to say they'd be so hyped. Oh man, we're going to Sound City, and they'd walk in and it'd be like shag carpet on the walls and this kind of dingy room, and they're like, "This is it," you know. And it was something about the board and the room that you just couldn't recreate. You can make it fancier. You can put it in a different building, whatever. There was just some combination that you couldn't explain.
There is, when you have a room that sounds good and you have the right, it's when you find that combination, you can't mess it up. You can't change out one piece for another. It's not like nothing is interchangeable in this business in recording. It's like I remember the funniest thing with Jack. I remember like there was a drum machine that I bought. It's like a TD. We were going to do 2 drummers on a live show, and we were putting together a band. And we had this one drum kit. One guy was on the regular kit, and then we bought a V drum kit for another drummer to play on the V drum kit. A V drum's electronic drums. And we were dealing with the drum doctor, with Ross from the drum doctor, and he gave us just to try it out. It's called a TD something. It's like the machine that the V drum kit comes with. It's the brain that you sit next to the kit, and it has all the sounds in it. And you that's the buttons that you press. And you can buy any of them. They're all manufactured. It's all the same stuff. But Jack was like, no, it's not the same. Buy that one from him. We love that one. I want that exact one. It's the same thing with microphones. He's like, it's not the same. Every component is different. It's not the same component. They might be technically the same, but they don't sound the same. Every mic's different. They're all different. So get that SM57. Get that TD thing. It's like when you find something that works, you want that one. You don't want some other, thing that has the same name on it. And it's kind of the same thing with Sound City. It's like if you find a room that works for the board and if you change the board, it's never going to be the same. It might be fantastic if you change the board. It might be something but no matter what, it will be different. It will be 100% different. And that's the thing. It's like if you find magic, you might find magic again, but it will be a different kind.
Yeah, and out of that grungy studio was all those Tom Petty hits, all those Fleetwood Mac hits, everybody from Rage Against the Machine to Nevermind by Nirvana. I mean, can you imagine when Dave Grohl sat down and listened to the playback of his drums for the first time coming out of Sound City?
I can't. Actually, I can. I remember hearing the playback on a couple of my records with Jack for the first time, and my mind being completely blown sitting there and just like what he was doing with sound. And the feeling, it's indescribable. So I can't even, I know what indescribable feeling means. I understand what that magic and that craziness and that it's a high beyond all highs. Doesn't matter if you have a hit like Dave Grohl or not. When you're listening to yourself and it feels like that, it feels pretty intense, but Dave Grohl is definitely, he's one of the best.
Yeah, and it's great to stay humble. And I know you've been around some of the biggest names in the business. Isn't it amazing? It's almost like the bigger they are, the more humble they are. They're just really sweet people. And a lot of the idiots in the middle are the egomaniacs and the jerks.
Yeah, well, I think that a lot of artists, some artists lead with their heart and some artists lead with their ego. And it depends on how jaded they are a lot of the time, and I think that even I've had moments with where I'm just like, I have to check myself because, you know, life works out a certain way. You know, I'm in this middle ground of like hoping and praying that something really big happens with these records that I'm making right now. And hope like one day we have another interview and it's like, hey, Eric, now look at it. What is it? Like, how do you feel now? You know, I hope one day that happens. But like, I understand that reason, because there's a lot of artists that get to that top level and there's a security there, and there is a they feel good about it. I think at the same time, they're still artists though, and they still go to their shell and they still have their insecurities, and that's what makes them artists. You know, that's what makes them. They have their highs and their lows, but they're sweet because of that. I think there's a lot of people that in the middle, they're still fighting. They're still like climbing that mountain and driving their hands into this concrete wall that has no ridges in it. You know what I mean? So like they're disgruntled. And if someone is in their way, or someone is like, you know, next to them or on their path, they kind of want to just fucking knock them off and be like, get the fuck off. You know, this is my path. And I also feel that too. It's like, it's dog eat dog. Even if someone is a sweetheart, these people, you know, the artists, even if it's a sweetheart artist, there's some shark in the water fighting for that artist. It's either the artist is a shark or he has a shark with him, you know? And I think that's the truth of the matter. I don't think there's any team that's just like all sweethearts. I don't think that's a possibility. Not with how treacherous these waters are and how difficult it actually is. But maybe there is. Maybe that's just my mindset. I'm just always just like, I gotta fight.
Well, we always say you got to stay hungry and humble, because no matter how big that hit is, if you're not hungry, you're not going to keep making them. And every time I see these interviews with Eddie Van Halen, they're saying, you know, did you know you were going to be the world's greatest guitarist? You became this guitar god. He'd brush that shit off. He'd be like, I'm just some punk kid that plays guitar in a back room here. I don't know what you're talking about. You know, he stayed super humble, and it was about what's next. If you're not hungry, you're not ever going to repeat, you know, your early glories.
Yeah. Well, I think that's definitely the key. It's like that actually is, you know, it's like there always has to be something to strive for. I've never, you know, Jack used to say that he never made a record that he was happy with, but all the records, I was so astounded that he said that to me. And I feel the same way. I mean, like I've never been, I just need to get away. I'm like so pumped on that record. I'm so happy that it turned out the way that it turned out. But now I'm like, would I do things differently? Absolutely. And like, maybe I won't feel the same way in 10 years, but like, you know, it's never good enough. It's never good enough. And that's the humbling feeling, I think, that like probably Eddie Van Halen felt. And that's why he was so good, because it was never good enough for him. You know, he's always striving for more. And it's like I said, it's an affliction. It's like, it also makes you really depressed at times because you have to like, oh, you're never good enough. And that's a scary thing too.
Well, yeah, so, if you think you've hit the top, there's only one way to go from there.
Yeah, I know.
And it's down.
Yeah, I know. So
well, our guest has been Eric Dash. He is an amazing producer, writer, mixer, artist, all the above. Where can people go online to stay in touch, check out your services, listen to your music?
Find me at ericdash.com, www.ericdash.com, or you can find me at Eric Dash Music on Instagram. I'm always like checking it out. There are times where I don't post for a few weeks because I'm just focused on something and I'm not giving my attention to social media, but like then I will post a bunch too. So it's like I go in and out of it, but I'm always looking. So if people message me, I'm there. And I should probably Twitter more, but I'm at Eric F Dash on Twitter. My last name is actually Friedman, but my mother's maiden name is Dash. So I've been going by Eric Dash Friedman because she's Marcy Dash Friedman. And so it was easy to become Eric Dash. because it was just dropping Friedman for a second. But that's what Eric F. Dashford is for. But anyways, that's how you can find me. And yeah, I'm right here.
Well, we can't wait to do a follow-up and chart your course and see you as you gain more and more notoriety in the industry. The single, again, is I Just Need to Get Away. The link is right below this video. Click on it and enjoy. Tell a friend. Eric, it's been a real pleasure. Looking forward to our next one.
Thank you so much. Yeah, me too. It's been a pleasure. See you, man.
Thanks so much, brother.